Willkommen, Hoinan, and welcome back to FTR. We're heading to the Australian Grand Prix paddock in Melbourne, the Albert Park circuit, of course, famous on the calendar, and here for round 2 of our 9th season at FTR. This is Division 2, the second night of 3 of racing so far this week, of course. My name is Webbo, here to take you through tonight's proceedings. We're going to have restarted stream. We're joining in Q2 because the drivers are only just heading out onto track, and we are a few drivers down due to load shedding, and that is possibly one of the problems that we are having regarding connections. I can see that some viewers have managed to pick us back up again. There is Sublime Film, or Nick Gishen, who has set the top time in Q3 of a 1:18.5. I have to hope, given the gap to the other drivers, that they are keeping their cars close to their chest and not exposing the extreme limit of their pace. AP Marg on the attack, and he heads on through the newly profiled turn 8, and then the no-numbered turn to the left of almost a straight line. A couple of gear shifts down for the difficult turn 9 and 10, avoiding those curbs, perhaps giving himself a bit of a margin here before we head to the next reprofile corner. That is the turn of turn 11, much sharper and narrower at the apex, wider at the entry. Royal Viking sets a time of 1:19.714, just a couple of corners left for AP Mark to set here as he brakes heavily down into the corner. There's Revolution. He says, go Pampern and AP Mark. Well, he'd be pleased that I'm watching AP Mark straight away as he sprints for the line. AP Mark just underneath the start lights. He crosses the line now, 1:22.228. That is a warm-up lap by anybody's stretch of the imagination. Fastest lap goes to Brad at 1:19.5. That's 1 second off the fastest time we saw in Q1. That was not broadcast. Stoffel 1:19.492, and we ride with chums in the Aston Martin, who unfortunately has managed to invalidate that one. Here is Smirch Django as It's Midas goes a huge leap forward of 1:18 flat. It's Midas in the Williams. Smirch currently second in the championship despite being a reserve driver in the Williams here, and he is just warming himself up. A 1:18.9 is what he managed on that lap, although he did deploy quite a lot of electrical energy nonetheless. Outlaps in progress, a few in-laps in progress too, and that gives me just enough time then. I'm hoping to take you through the current driver's standings. Okay. Excuse me, I was just reading a comment there from Revolution. Well, I can hear myself on my own stream watching, so I think my sound is okay, but maybe it is engine sound that we're talking about. That is usually the best way to fix that, but apologies for the technical issues. Could you just clarify for me, Revolution, can you hear me, and can you hear the cars on track? Here is Nick Gishen then. He is on an outlap right now, and we've got Royal Viking having retired from the session on 1:19.7. That will leave him. I think that could well be a problem there. That is a crash for Royal Viking on the approach to the usually flat out turn 5. May have got himself a little bit unsettled over the car park curbs there of turn 4. The left-hander at turn 4, and here comes Nick Gishen then. He's at the fastest time in qualifying. Let's join him on board and see. He'll be hoping that car gets out of the way on the pit lane. Yes, indeed it does, and we go flying down to 4th gear. Usually you try and hold it in as high a gear as possible through turns 1 and 2, very low grip corners as you try and ride those curbs and time your throttle perfectly. Big stop off the DRS, down into turn 3, and then quick across the track to try and get the best positioning here for turn 4. Turn 5, bit of a nothing corner under these high grip conditions. The sun is low in the sky, but the track temperature still should be pretty heavy. Turn 6 and 7 dealt with pretty quickly by Nick Gishen as he goes for the narrowest, tightest line possible, hugging the inside line of the track here. Not particularly smooth, but he should cut down a metre or two on the long run down here into turn 9 and 10. One wheel over the curb on each side, and successfully managing the next one. We've got full throttle now, or almost reached VMAX before braking around the 50-metre board. I don't even know if that is, strictly speaking, 50 metres down to turn 11. It's a very late braking zone before we head then into the final 2 corners of the circuit. Super low grip coming through the final corner here, turn 14. I think we will see some errors in quali and the race from our drivers. Nick Gishen then sprints for the line. Will it be top? It won't. He beats himself from the previous session by 3/10, but he is still 3/10 away from It's Midas, who holds on to the provisional pole position. We've got Pampern in the pits. We've got Chums going again. Let's ride with Chums then, as we're also waiting for Hashim, who didn't make it into the first race of the championship last week, but he was ably substituted by another one of the Osman family tribe, who managed to secure a 4th place. But Hashim will be wanting to make sure that seat doesn't get too cold, and he makes sure that he's there to stamp his authority on that particular seat in the McLaren. Thank you to Dixie Killer, who reassures me that the sound is working. So that's all good. I appreciate that, you guys. Great to give me that heads up. As we head towards Sector 2 for Chums, that's a 45.684, no reference point for himself here. He can see a small distraction in front of him. I think that car is far enough away. That's a Mercedes, but he in fact just feathers out of the throttle to make sure he doesn't get any kind of accusation of blocking. And we head then towards turn 12. It's no longer a smooth double right-hander, turns 11 and 12. It is very much 2 separate corners, different radii and different approach. Out of the final corner we go, flags waving in the grandstand, all to the right-hand side, the north-facing winds, and it's a 1:21.44 for Chums. Will that be safe to see him through the end of this session? Who knows? Well, it's Botha, GJ Botha, who is next on track. He's going to take on this difficult circuit here. Very short street circuit, of course, street style circuit. It's a parkland, but very low grip, and always an interesting place to start our championships on the on-track championship, of course. Here is P14 at the moment for Botha. He gets himself into a 27.1 second first sector. Little bit of traffic in front. That's an Aston Martin. So roles reversed from the last time we were heading through this lap with Chums. But he'll be hoping. There we go, peeling across is the Aston Martin, helpfully just getting out of the dirty air zone for Botha. A little bit hesitant perhaps through 9 and 10. Make your own judgment of that, of course. And good evening to Sophia, who is cheering Midas tonight, and to Umer, our departed and graduated Season 8 Division 2 champion, who is racing in Division 1 now, but still tuning in to see his brother and, of course, his constructor's teammate. Botha then for the line. I haven't even gotten through the standings yet. Let's do that shortly, shall we? If we get a lull in the action, Botha registers a 1:20.178. That looks like as fast as he can go. Pampern on the bubble, of course. He hasn't set a time yet. Pressure on. Just under 5 minutes to go till that checkered flag. And away then towards the line. Bright yellow helmet for Pampern. That will make sure he stands out in the Ferrari, and it's a 1:19.475. A decent chunk away from the fastest time we've had so far. Most of our drivers at the top end of the order are in the pits. The current standings with 4.5 minutes to go. It's Midas first. Nick Gishen, Shakes and Avalak. Very much the usual suspects up there. And then we've got Hashim, Smertz, Pampern, Stoffel, Brad and Royal Viking favourites to progress through, although I'm not sure what happened to Royal Viking. He may have damaged the car and end up being eliminated or not be able to take part in Q3, as we've got Gachui Levy has retired on the exit of the final corner, maybe caught in 2 minds between staying out and going in the pits. Certainly seems to have hit that pit wall early doors. AP Mark of 1:21.654, spending his ERS. So that is strange to see AP Mark struggling to this degree at this stage of Q2. And good evening as well to Jacques Kurtzer, who is here for Midas. So Midas, very popular among our audience so far. And I'm only aware of one of the Osmonds who have joined us on the stream. Let's hope we get some more of the family, unless of course it's on the big wide screen in the family home and everyone's watching together. You'll have to tune in if you want to comment separately. So next on the track, well, we've certainly got Botha on track at the moment. He is seemingly on a hot lap here. Let's have a look at their current tyre. Well, it's second lap into his tyre allocation. We'll see as he goes across the first sector if this is representative. It looks pretty good. It is, in fact, nearly 8/10 to the good. Botta had a bit of a charge lap there, and he spent quite a lot of ERS. Got about a third of it left for this attack lap. Pit lane for majority of the top 10. They're fairly happy. Stoffel and Pampern haven't yet retired. I think they will be planning to head out. There's a big gap there between 6th and 7th. 118.9 for Smertz in 6th. 119.475 for Pampern in the Ferrari in 7th place currently. That's where the drivers here will be looking to get themselves in, as Botta, massive understeer, overspeed going in, and just the front washing away on him. He managed to avoid invalidation, but I would have thought that will stymie that 8/10 of a second he got in the first sector. Let's see, retirement's coming in as you would expect, and full throttle then to the line for Botta in the Mercedes. Can he get near his teammate? No, indeed he cannot. Only just shaded the lap he got before. He's going to have to go again, perhaps even on this set of tyres, because he won't have time to turn the car around in the pits. Very dodgy and very close here to the elimination point for for Botta. Brad is on P9, safe at the moment on that 119.592, but Chums needs to gain 6/10 of a second over the course of this current hot lap he is on. We'll get an update as he goes to cross the line very shortly. That is there or thereabouts with his previous time, so he's got it all to do in the final 2 sectors of the lap. Full throttle, as you would expect. And let me quickly take you through the standings. Uzi, after one race, Uzi leads on 35, Smertz Django on 25, Avalak 22, Stoffel 16, Chums 12, Jacques 10. Pampern, Shakes have also scored in 7th and 8th, but the rest of our drivers in Division 2 yet to score in this championship, so they'll be looking to maximise their opportunity here tonight and get a good start to the season. It is race 2 of 11 only, and in terms of the constructor standings, remember these are combined across division. Red Bull lead on 115, McLaren a second on 84, as Chums goes for the line for the Aston Martin team. Will he get himself up into the P10? He won't. Best of the rest at the moment, P11, and I think that might be all she wrote for Chums. Botta is trying to get round before the checkered flag. If that yellow flag would only clear for me, I'll be able to see. Brad got himself up to P7 at 119.453. So Royal Viking now the driver on the bubble, perhaps only at risk from Botta. Let's see. He's coming in the pits. Those tyres have done 3 hot laps at least, and no real chance to improve. Chums on the dregs of his ERS deployment. I don't think he's going to be able to do much here. So let's continue our journey through the constructors' standings. AlphaTauri are 3rd on 70 points. Scuderia Ferrari are off 4th on 68, very close behind there. And then Aston Martin 45, Alpine 34, Williams 25, Mercedes 19, Haas with 2 of our fastest drivers in Division 2. Haas only have 16 points to their name, and then Alfa Romeo have yet to score, but there are no Alfa Romeo drivers currently registered with us in Division 2 today. Clive says, let's go Brad. Indeed, that was a good lap from Brad. Brad and Shakes have, for the first time in my tenure here in FTR, have separated across team. But it's Midas who has the fastest time by a decent margin, nearly just over 2/10 of a second, a 118 flat from its Midas. Chums couldn't improve, so it'll be Chums, Botta, AP Mark and Gaturi Levy who will no longer be with us in the remaining session of qualifying. Q3 coming up for you very shortly. A reminder, if we do get disconnected, just head on back to the channel homepage and hit refresh. I'll be back on screen as soon as I can make it, unless we get a host retirement from the session, in which case there's no hope for anyone. Shakes says he and Brad will reunite next season. Okay, we needed to perhaps bid a little bit more for the car and team auction, unless you've been purposefully split up. Shakes, how do you fancy your chances tonight? Let me know while you're watching in between sessions here. Don't do it while driving, of course. That is highly ill-advised. Now, I didn't get any standings for Q3, so but for the end of Q1, it just went this black screen, and then we were live. So who knows? Let's play the let's play the results lottery. It looks like we may end up without it. So we'll just have to remember that. It was a 118 flat, as I say, for its Midas. And yeah, we're going to miss out those ones. So if you are absolutely obsessed, and I can't blame you, then you'll see that the standings. I will go back to my. You can go back to the stream. My stream is too grainy to look at, so I can't exactly catch up very well. But the 9 drivers, thanks to that retirement from 10th place of Royal Viking, the 9 drivers that will take Q3 are Shakes, Hashim, Smerts, Avalak, Nick Gishen, Pampern, Midas, Brad, and Stoffel. Teams well represented here, of course, throughout the top 10. Good to see plenty of drivers represented. We've got drivers on the way out there already. They're keen to get underway. Of course, only 12 minutes in Q3. Shakes wants to just avoid that left-hand side of the car treading too much on the pit lane exit lines. Of course, you've got to stay to the right of that, although as we learned last year, it is the entirety of a tyre, not any part thereof, that shouldn't touch the line. It's very, very complicated. Only in the way that only F1 can do. It makes the line all the way out is out, not any part of the tyre on the line. Well, Nick Gishen has got himself out of the pits first, but he's allowed Hashim and I believe that is Smerts in front of no, it's not Smerts, it's Brad who has been allowed to take the lead there. But Hashim will be our first driver on a hot lap, I think, if he survives these next few corners. So what are your predictions then in terms of time and who is going to get that pole for this session? Let me know. I know who you're all supporting, but how fast will we go? Can we get into the 117s with more than one driver, do you think? Will Nick Gishen and Midas duke it out, or will other drivers join in the fray? Hashim, clear track in front of him, thankfully for him. Avoids that inside curb on the apex of turn 1, and a nice smooth exit of 2. Very late on the brakes into 3. Of course, the car doesn't get up to a huge amount of speed in the short shoot between turns 2 and 3. Using the curb just to rotate the car, got a tiniest bit of throttle turn there in the mid corner. Nicely through turn 6 and 7. Now it's 8, which is about as easy as it comes. So is the following not straight, banana shaped full throttle. Fastest point of the circuit, of course, here before blink and you miss it. Braking point for the next 2 corners of turns 9 and 10. The difficult chicane. Really, really tricky textures underneath the wheels there as we head down to 11. Beautiful apexes, but perhaps slightly slow onto the throttle from Hashim. Some room to improve, perhaps. He is avoiding those apex curbs in the throttle zone, which is very wise. Hangs it on the outside for the final corner, and it's a 118 flat for Hashim. Great early lap from Hashim. Tremendous stuff. Let's see what Midas is doing now. He's going slowly, so let's not. Let's go to Nick Gishen, who's actually on an outlap. Interestingly enough, I think Shakes though might well be on a fast one. Yes, indeed. So Shakes is trying to get himself. He'll certainly be. His first point of reference is going to be Brad, but he pulls in. He's not happy with that lap and the balance, it seems. Avalak opens DRS. I think he's just doing a warm-up lap here. This is a bit slow for Avalak standards. So if we've got anybody actually rushing a lap, well, Pampern is invalidated, so he was pushing. How about Stoffel then in the sister Red Bull to league owner Avalak? This looks a little bit more like someone who is trying hard on a lap. Nice pickup mid-corner through turn 12 for Stoffel. Oh, bit of early steering possibly a hint of oversteer on the way into the final corner. Lost a few tenths doing that, but it's P3 at 1:19.703 for Stoffel. Here's Midas. No, he came into the pits very unhappy, in fact, with his time. Well, that's an invalidation all day long, cutting the corner in turn 2 for Nick Gishen. So first runs for our fast drivers in the previous session have not gone to plan. That has allowed Hashim to put in a belter of a lap here. That was very tricky from Smerts as well. He just about avoided invalidation there, being off throttle through the chicane of turns 9 and 10. 11 is dealt with the unique cockpit arrangement here in the Williams. That's the static display on the bulkhead of the dashboard area rather than within the steering wheel itself. A lot of drivers prefer not to race the Williams simply because of that reason. Smerts gets a 1:18.292. That was good enough for second place in Q2, but will it be good enough for second place in Q3? The next runs will be on their way. It's Midas is currently warming up the car into sector 3 of his warm-up lap.